Hello and welcome to another RMCT 4 map preview, and this is one of the maps which is going to be seen in qualifying round B, the quarterfinals and the semi-finals. Twisted Desert, a very unusual and interesting race for wool map because unlike most race for wool maps it's not arranged as two straight lanes. We have this kind of spiral arrangement, and before we go and drop down and take a look at the actual lanes, we'll just have a kind of overhead view to see how it all looks. So teams drop down in two locations into their two spawn pools. One drops down over there, the other is into that spawn pool over there. And everything is symmetrical but arranged in a kind of spiral formation. So one team's lane begins here, spirals around like that, first wall there, around to here, second wall is there, and along to the end where third wall is located. And the other team's lane does exactly the same thing but interleaved with it. And that means that wherever you are on the map, you can see the opposing team's lane on both sides of you, which can be very, very interesting and certainly makes for some significant changes to typical Race for Wool gameplay. So, to go over the lanes, first of all, teams will drop down here. It's a very, very long drop. Everybody will be hitting the water. Don't expect to see anyone hitting the sand on the side because they will die. And to start with, over here at one end of your lane, there is this small kind of sniper house, which is pretty important because it contains some very useful items, lots of bows and arrows, iron swords, a set of leather armor, a couple of chests, apples, leather, one ender pearl, and plenty more food and some beds and some torches and things. So I expect we will see teams going for this. There's also some more arrows up in the chest at the top there. Another thing that we might see teams going for early on is this chest up here, which contains a second ender pearl on the map. Now there are 5 ender pearls available on this map, and they can be used to TP from one part of your lane across to a completely different part of your lane. So, for example, someone could stand here and they could pearl across to the pyramid or over to that area where the water is, or they could jump across to the village over there. And this means that you can have players moving around the map really rapidly early in the game, getting into different positions, mixing things up a bit. It can be very interesting. So there are 2 ender pearls, as I said, one there, one on that tower. Now, I'll point out the other 3 in a moment. The next big challenge for teams is to get through or over this mountain, and they can do that in a few different ways. They can bridge across, but that means they have to first of all get some blocks. Only sand is available here, so it can take quite a while to gather enough solid blocks to get across there, because you have to craft sand into sandstone. Or they may choose to go over, and again that's going to require some blocks as well, because you have to place them down to actually make a reusable route across the top of the mountain here. Plus, of course, the whole time you're under pressure from the opposing team, who will be in their little sniper location as well. Now up here at the top of the mountain is the Victory Monument, and next to the Victory Monument, more bows and arrows and the 3rd ender pearl on the map. On from there, and we come down, and incidentally I will point out that we may also see teams tunnelling through the mountain as well, but they won't do that right at the start of the match because they don't have a pickaxe available to them, but they may make a route through the mountain for use later on. Now here on the other side of the mountain we have this corner area, which can be really, really important because it has a very good view of the other team's second wool, which we'll look at a little bit later. It also has the 3rd ender pearl available at the top of that tower there. Then we come through into the village, and in the village there is a well with a chest. Ender pearl number 4 can be found there. There are also... Have I counted that right? No, this is actually ender pearl number 5, sorry. 2 at the start, 1 on the Victory Monument, 1 by that corner, and 1 here. And this also has some golden apples and some potion making stuff, plus a couple more iron swords. Across here in this other kind of well, there is also a power 1 bow, which can be very useful, and a few torches. And all the rest of these houses just contain basic items, bit of coal, stone sword, water bottles, nothing too important, but there are occasionally some things here which may be picked up, and the beds might be useful as well. This building here has the enchantment table, which is in here, plus a few more potion supplies. No source of books on the map though, unless you want to start a reed farm, which would be very, very slow. So don't expect to see high level enchants as we may have seen on this map in the past. It's no longer possible to do anything above a low level enchantment using the enchantment table. One final house over here also has a few other items available in the chest, just a bit more food and some more stone tools and some more coal in the furnace and another bed. There's also the wheat farm, which might see used as a food source in times of dire need. And then we move on to this area here. Now this crazy contraption is the first wool on the map, known as Hollow. And I will point out a couple of things about this right off the bat. First of all, it is dark under here. If you stand underneath these wools, you'll see that the light level is down to 1 or 2, even 0 in places. So there will be mobs spawning here if the lane is not lit up properly. Furthermore, it's also dark up on the top of these pyramids, and the mobs will start jumping off and killing players on the lane below. So not only do you have to light up underneath, but it's also quite important to see teams lighting up the areas on top. This area is going to be a mob trap at all times. The basic idea of this wool is you get redstone torches. You can also use levers if you don't have redstone torches, and you make your way through 4 separate rooms. Pyramid-shaped sort of rooms that look pretty much like this one. In each room there is an altar, this little bedrock thing here, and you put your redstone torch on the altar, and that will pass a redstone signal up. And once all 4 are done, so 1, 2 down there, and then 3, 4 up here, once you have been through all of those mob-filled rooms, you can make your way right up to the top and hit the button to get green wool. Now in the past we have seen some exploits for this wool that rely on explosions passing through bedrock and things like that. However, all of those are, I believe, now fixed. So expect to see that wool being run legit, I hope. So on from there, and another thing to point out is that down below first wool is the iron room. There are 5 iron blocks available and also 6 TNT. We may see that being used. Obviously iron is quite important, so I would expect to see teams coming down for those, but also the TNT can be very useful because it's the first TNT available on the map, and we might see it used for some very early rushed dry cannons. On from there, and we pass through this small building here. Doesn't really have much of importance. It's the old library. Bookshelves have now been removed in a more recent update to the map due to the fact that they made high level enchants possible. There is some potion gear in here though, and more bow and arrow supplies. And of course it will also be a little bit dark, so another hazard for teams to get through. Another open area, and it's worth pointing out these open areas are quite a target for potential cannons, so we could see people building kind of lane destroyer cannons to gouge big holes in this area of the map. Certainly something that we've seen before. In this small pyramid here there's another supply chest, which is quite important. It has half the TNT, also has a couple of sets of leather armour and pickaxes and things, and some more torches, which is important for the early lighting up of the lane. A couple of chests down here offer golden apples, but not much else of interest. And then we reach the Sphinx, and the Sphinx has a Flame 1 bow, and also, only low durability though, and also some more cannon supplies, including water buckets and another stack of TNT. And then below the Sphinx is the second wool. Second wool is PvP oriented. Let me just grab a compass again to hide the hotbar. A very PvP focused wool. This is pretty much only 1 block deep, although there are a few safe spots where players can hide out on their way around, and it basically its name is Rise and Fall, and it basically involves going up and down. There are some ladders available there, but most of the time you have to place your own or use water. Little room with a bed for some extra safety. Skeleton spawner up there. And it's mostly all about the PvP. We will probably see players locating themselves in this early corner here that I pointed out, and using that as a sniping location to lock down this second wool. This stretch here towards the end of the wool is quite vital to be careful on, because it also has a few spawners, and the mobs will drop out of there and then start attacking you as you approach here. So you'll have to deal with both the mobs coming and also PvP pressure from above, so quite a nasty bit. And then you finish off by getting past this lava and not getting shot into it, hopefully, and reach the wool room, which I just passed through, but it's basically cyan wool, I believe. There it is. And we will probably see people passing that wool around once they have it. You can put a chest down or just place a few blocks of wool over there. You can also pass it around up here. Moving on from second wool, which I expect to see heavy PvP lockdowns on, to the diamond room, which is accessed through this small shaft here. A bit of wood is also available there, incidentally. 4 TNT and 4 diamond blocks are available there. These are the only major diamond supplies on the map. There is also some in the ore mine below the village, but that's relatively slow to get. I would expect to see this being cannoned, and it is possible to cannon it fairly early in the game from the village over here, so we may see people rushing to grab those diamonds before the other team have a chance to cannon it. Could be interesting. And then, beyond the diamonds, we reach the third wool area. Just before the third wool, though, there is the dig site, and underneath here there are some tools available. There's an efficiency 4 pickaxe in there, efficiency 10 shovel in here, and some more torches. And in here there is a power 2 bow with a few shots on it. There's also another bow, some arrows available there, and a few stone tools and golden apples and ladders in that chest there. And then we enter the final wool, black wool, final destination. And this is kind of a digging around on the front of the lane thing. 1 block deep almost all the time. You have to be exposed to the other team, and they can be shooting at you from below first wool over there. There is one area around here where it becomes 2 blocks deep, which can give you a little bit of cover if you need it as you pass around that bit, or you can go directly to the wool room instead. Now, when you get, well, I say wool room, this is not the end of the wool. This is the end of the PvP part of the wool and the start of the PvE part. And the first thing that happens is you break through this barrier of sand and get shot off the lane by a skeleton. But if you're lucky enough for that not to happen, then you come through into this room here, and this room will probably be full of mobs. It has a creeper spawner, so there will probably be, in fact, 2 creeper spawners, so there are probably going to be some creepers in here. There is a little bit of armour available if it doesn't blow up, and a sharpness sword, power 1 bow. Once you've made it through that room, you come through here and drop down. More mobs to deal with down here, very, very dark. And then come down this corridor here, fighting the mobs all the way, until you enter this final room. Now, I've lit this up with torches, but basically it's a dark room full of mobs, very, very dangerous. Over here, a couple of creeper spawners that need to be taken out, and over here there are cave spider, zombie and enderman spawners. Once you've managed to deal with all that, you can grab the black wool. There are 4 blocks available on the corners here, and it's also available in the chest. Various different tactics for taking on this room. We've seen people kind of bridging along the edge. No longer very easy due to additional bedrock having been added at the top there. We also see water being used to push the mobs back, or TNT being used to take them out. Various different tactics, but it's basically a heavy PvE wool, quite tricky to do. So, to end it all off, once you have the 3 wools, all you have to do is find your way back to your own victory monument, which would be this one here, in this case, and get them all on there, which is not always as easy as it sounds in Race for Wool, but in this case I don't think it's a particularly cannonable victory monument. Could possibly see some cannons from over there, but that would be quite tricky to do. Once the wools are on, the teams will progress to the next round. So, very, very interesting map. I hope we see some good games on here. We're certainly going to see several in qualifying round B. If you're interested and want to see the matches when they happen, find out more on the subreddit at reddit.com/r/mctony. You can also follow the live streams at live.rmct.tv and follow the tournament on Twitter at twitter.com/rmctony. Thanks for watching.